Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me to talk about Ole Miss versus Kentucky in our NCAA Week 5 coverage, it's our host, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, man?
What's going on, Jeremiah? Talking some amazing football today in the SEC. Ole Miss, Kentucky, two top-ranked opponents. It's going to be a great matchup this upcoming Saturday.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are watching us live or listening to our podcast, we just want to say thank you. It's listening to our podcast and watching us on YouTube, watching us on Facebook, interacting with us over on LinkedIn, sharing, liking, subscribing. Those are the reasons that we grow. And it's because of you, especially telling your friends and family and colleagues about our show through word of mouth that we're able to grow. So thank you so much. Well, Mr. Logan Landers, Ole Miss, Kentucky, two teams that are dear to our hearts around here because, all of our favorite teams play a lot of these teams throughout the year. What do we have to look forward to for this game?
Well, let's talk about these Kentucky Wildcats, currently ranked number 7 right now in the rankings, having another very successful season. Last week went up against Northern Illinois in a bit of a tight matchup. They did get the win 31-23. Of course, quarterback Will Levis had a tremendous ball game, 18 and 26 passing, 303 yards, good for an 11.7 average, 4 touchdowns, and 0 INT. So a very clean, very good day for him. As for the running core, 103 yards as a team on 35 carries. So they got the work done, led by Smoke, of course, 12 carries for 85 for him. He helped lead the way for them. The receiving core, Tavion Robinson was the MVP for that core. 7 catches, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not to be outdone by Barry Brown, 4 grabs for 102 and 2 scores as well. They were looking really good. The defense, like I said, gave up 23 points overall, but not too bad. Jaquez Jones led the way with 12 tackles, led the team with DeAndre Square right behind him with 6. 0 sacks as a squad, and only 1 tackle for loss with 4 passes defended and 2 quarterback hurries. So you got to apply some more pressure this upcoming week if you want to beat up on Ole Miss. No interceptions for the team. Like I said, a bit of a close win for Kentucky, but a win is a win nonetheless. Let's talk about these Rebels out there in Ole Miss. Both these teams remain undefeated coming into this week, so we're going to see who's going to take the first loss on the season. Ole Miss got the win in kind of another close ball game, 35-27 against Tulsa. In that game, Jackson Dart, 13-24 passing, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, another clean game for him. The running game was just on fire this past week, Jeremiah. 51 carries as a team for 308 total yards and 3 scores. Led, of course, by Quinshawn Judkins, 27 carries for them and 140 yards with 2 touchdowns on a 5.2 average. Also, Jackson Dart, the quarterback, not afraid to get it done with the legs as well. 13 carries for 116 yards to boot, with Zach Evans there with 10 carries for 48. The receiving core, Malik Heath led the way with 4 grabs for 75 yards and a score, with Jonathan Mingo right behind him, 3 catches for 54 and got in for 6 as well. The defense, led by Ladarius Tennyson with 12 tackles on the day. Right behind him was Troy Brown. No sacks for them as well, but they had 2 tackles for loss and 6 passes defended with 10 quarterback hurries. So they were right there with him, but they just were not able to bring him down to the ground. Interception, of course, by A.J. Finley as well, helped get the win for Ole Miss, 35-27. So looking at this game, it's going to be very, very interesting. Kentucky, I mentioned it, they had a pretty decent running game. They're getting back Chris Rodriguez this upcoming week, and I think as long as he can have a better game, as long as he can kind of really get that jolt to his season, that can really help out Kentucky this week. As long, of course, we all know their quarterback looking great there with Will Levis. I expect him to have another really good game. He's looked great so far this season. And as for Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, just do what you do with your arm, do what you do with your leg. And my God, if you can run for over 300 yards as a team, it's going to be a pretty easy day on this upcoming Saturday. But I expect this one to be a very close matchup. Like I said, both these teams are ranked pretty high. Both of them are in the SEC. Both are undefeated. There's a lot of storylines going on here. It's going to be in Lexington, and that is who I'm going to give the advantage to. Kentucky gets to win in this ball game 30-25. I got this one being super close. It's going to go back and forth. But I think overall, man, Kentucky's going to get the W in this one in a close ball game and keep climbing up that AP top 25 this upcoming weekend.
Wow, yeah. Let's see it. We definitely would love to see it. Well, what do you think? Put in the comments what you think the final score will be. Tell us what are you really looking for in this Ole Miss versus Kentucky matchup, and tell us what do you think about are you going to be at the football game itself? Are you going to be out in the stadium, looking and having your tailgate? Are you going to be at a sports bar? What is, are you going to be at home watching? Or are you going to listen on the radio? Let us know exactly where and how you're going to watch and listen to the game. You can throw that in the comments over on YouTube. You can throw it on the comments on Facebook. You can even jump in on LinkedIn and join with us over there. But if you're listening to the podcast, we love you. And if you're not listening to the podcast, join us over there. I listen on Spotify, but a lot of our great fans listen over on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Amazon, Google, or anywhere that you love to listen to podcasts. Just look up 100 Yards of Football. You'll see our football on the 50-yard line, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network. And guess what? That's where we put our new podcast every single day. And we have new podcasts that pretty much drop every day. So you can always have new coverage, and you can go back and listen to our evergreen, as we call it, history specials, ones that you can listen to anytime throughout the year that cover all the great stories through football history. We interview some of the great players, some of the great sportscasters, and, we just chat it up and talk about what we think is amazing about the sport. So join us over there. Thank you so much to Mr. Logan Landers for this NCAA Week 5 coverage of Ole Miss versus Kentucky. We'll be back with another live episode right after this.